Well, I'm really glad, Paul, that we could do this, and really looking forward to the presentation in general. So with us at Root, myself and Gabby, what we do is financial consulting for startups and small businesses, and we do fractional CFO services. And a lot of times right up until now, I think we've helped over 20 clients with like fundraising, and they could have the most killer financial model that we've put together for them, business plan, whatever it is. But if the conversation when it comes to speaking to investors is they don't have that messaging refined, it kind of all falls apart, and is one of the key pieces, especially towards fundraising or looking for outside capital, is having that clear, concise messaging, because in essence it is storytelling. So I was super excited to meet Paul a few weeks ago, and when he told me about this, I just couldn't wait. So yeah, I mean, Paul, uh, can't wait.
Well, Ras, thank you so much. I surely appreciate it for you and Gabrielle, and we're just really glad to be able to partner and collaborate. It's so much fun doing it this way. I know a lot of us have had some hard times, during this pandemic, but this has been one of the benefits, is that I've been able to partner and collaborate with people that I might not normally have done so with. So thanks for that introduction, and welcome to First Steps to the Perfect Pitch. Now, you're in for a great workshop and to learn my 3 steps that I help you create a perfect pitch. And today we're going to start off with a personal story, as well as I want to tell a client story that's going to illustrate the power of a good pitch. Then I'm going to share with you the 3 steps to creating a perfect pitch. And you'll have an activity and an opportunity where you'll be able to apply what you're learning here today to your current situation. So if you don't already have your last pitch deck available, do a little multitasking, open up your last pitch deck. And honestly, if you don't have that, don't worry about it. You can still participate. We will actually send you a follow-on email because of your registration with a replay link. And I encourage you to stay. I'm going to try to keep this to 40 minutes. I got my timer, and I'm going to start it right now. I now have started my timer. And I have a special offer for you that I want to explain at the end of my talk today. So stay on till the end, and let's get started. So first, let me give you a little personal story. First, I want to introduce myself and my personal life in context. So this is my family photo from a few years ago. Yes, 4 kids, 3 dogs, including that one that I'm petting there is our little puppy. Remember that dog, because that's part of my personal story here in a moment. But we're fortunate to live here in beautiful foothills of Appalachian Mountains in Berea, Kentucky. I moved here in my last job, where I've worked 20 years in community economic development in the finance sector. I've had the pleasure of helping hundreds of innovators and leaders affect change for the common good through small business and economic development. And I've worked in those roles such as senior grant officer, public and private capital funds, and being a fund officer. I've been a mission lender, funding neighborhoods and Main Street redevelopment and small businesses. And now I'm utilizing that knowledge and what I've learned, and I'm sharing that as a coach and to mission leaders and those who want to have a social impact for the common good. So that's a little bit about me. Now, I want to share with you this personal story. It's a lot of fun. And so here it is. My personal story is, how my youngest daughter, Cassie, pitched me on getting a new puppy. Right. And I'm telling this puppy pitch story because it really does illustrate how persistence and creativity can pay off. Now, for over 5 years, my 4 kids have been begging me, saying, "Oh, can you please get us a new puppy?" Now, notice there were 2 dogs already in that picture, and this was going to be the 3rd dog. And of course, this dog was a much larger dog. This dog was supposed to only be 60 pounds. Today, it's 3 years old, and it's 95 pounds. But I was always saying no over and over again. There were so many reasons that I would tell the kids, look, we have 2 dogs. We don't need another one. But my youngest daughter came up with this beautiful plan. And in fact, I still have it right here, where she pitched me on this idea of why buying a puppy would really help. And I wish I had the time to show you the video. She did a little song. She had it perfectly laid out. She had all of the benefits over here, more benefits and bonuses over here. And so you can see that she put some time and did a fabulous job of presenting it to me. Now, what she didn't know at the time is I actually had been really mulling it over whether I should do it or not. But it was her persistence and her pitch that really won me over as a dad. And I said, yeah, let's get a dog. And of course, she just went crazy, and we love that dog. But I want to just bring this back home that really you don't want to give up. What I learned from my 11-year-old daughter at the time is that you really want to be persistent, you want to be creative, and you want to keep giving a better pitch. So let me share with you more in a professional client story, this same type of idea. Now, my client, Joan, has given me permission to share her story. So here it is. Joan had a passion to build sustainable, energy efficient, and resilient homes, especially for families in disaster-prone areas. See, she even built that model home that she lives in herself. But the problem was her design type was not what her local market was accustomed to. You see, Joan had the skills and the knowledge. And in fact, her architectural drawings and building plans were well documented. But she obviously had the expertise. But what she didn't have was she didn't have the partners. She didn't have the investors to understand and believe in her new design product. And some of her past results when she presented her ideas to potential partners is they just didn't get her innovative ideas and her resilient housing product. It was a new product. It was a new process of modularly kind of putting together the home. Now, she just felt frustrated and stuck, and she hired me as her pitch coach to help her redesign and perfect her pitch and identify potential investors. You know, her story is not unique, right? How many of you have become stuck or frustrated like Joan, right? Not getting the audience to understand your unique value or the opportunities that you're offering. But because Joan had me as her coach, I was able to help her stop wasting her time and energy and get back on the right track to build a better plan and a pitch. She was able to clarify her message, get more clear about her target market that was most likely to be interested in her housing product. And within 30 days, Joan was able to repackage her pitch and was getting some traction on getting the right people to pitch to. And since then, Joan has established a business partnership and is on track for a large real estate redevelopment project. So really encouraged by Joan's story. But you know what? Why do you think this worked for Joan? Well, there are three main reasons why I think that this worked for her. First, she got guidance and insight from someone who had been there and done that. Now, like I said, I've seen hundreds of pitches and funded a few as a mission lender, and I know what works and I know what doesn't work. So I also have recently become a pitch judge for impact investors in my region and know what are the best practices from those that are considered impact investors. So what else? Number two, Joan made a commitment to recraft her pitch, even though she was too busy. We're all too busy. All right. I mean, I'm amazed that we've got as many people on this call as we do. And thank you for your time today. I want to make it worth your while. But Joan, she was willing to put in her time and effort and follow up on some of the tips and tools that I provided her. And I'm sure many of you feel too busy sometimes to even prepare a pitch deck or your talking points, but it really can make a difference if you do that preparation. So number three reason why she was successful is Joan asked me to hold her accountable to her own goals and a specific action plan that she created, and I co-created with her. Now, her goals laid out a very specific pathway. We used a very specific communication tool that I helped send her reminders so that she complete her action steps, and I was able to follow up with her every step of the way. So let me share with you, just in recap with her, what were some of those steps. First, Joan and I, we analyzed her pitch deck. Then I listened to her recite what she had said before and gave her specific recommendations. Joan did a self-assessment with her last pitch deck, which we're going to do today. If you've got your last pitch deck, please pull it out because we're going to do an activity here in a minute. But she used that tool, and it provided with her immediate discovery of where she could add or make improvements. And then second, we laid out that plan of action, and I coached her through making some very specific changes and making improvements to identify a better audience. And then third, she practiced her new pitch, and she also used some of the tips that I gave her so that she could be more confident to pitch new audiences. Now, this just doesn't work for people like Joan. You'll be happy to know that this 3-step process can work for you too, especially if you're an entrepreneur or even a social entrepreneur trying to raise impact capital. Or maybe you're just a leader and you want to enroll more stakeholders in your cause or your enterprise. Now, the only reason I think it might not work for you, if you don't have an existing enterprise or an organization so that you can show traction. So in a minute, I'm going to walk you through this 3-step process, and you'll have a chance to evaluate your last pitch. But if you're already interested in getting help from me, if I've piqued your interest, I do want to let you know I will be taking on 4 new openings next month. So stay tuned to the end. I can tell you more about that. So let's analyze your current pitch. If you've got that, have it ready, pull it up on the screen. It's time for us to apply this 3-step process. Now, first, let's analyze the pitch. I know many of you came ready, and so don't worry if you don't have it. If you're not ready, like I said, you can watch the replay on this, and you can actually pause it and take these next steps. So I don't want people to freak out if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for this. Here we go. So when you're preparing a pitch, it can be intimidating. What you should include, what you should exclude, how long should it be? But we've made it much easier with this guidebook. Many of you might have already downloaded 10 Steps to the Perfect Pitch. It's just a free guidebook that I do typically make available. I made available to our friends over at Root Financial. And some of you may have already gotten that and used it already. But what's in that guidebook is we will help you know which slide titles or topics to include. Things like, where do you put your mission and vision? Where do you put your proof of concept? How many slides should you have? Where do you put your ask or your financials? And so this guide gives you a proven outline used by other entrepreneurs and social enterprises who are raising impact capital. Most importantly, it'll tell you what sets you apart and how you'll achieve your goals, mission, and margin and pay back investors. And then finally, hopefully you won't be afraid to ask your audience to take action and get their attention through a call to action. We also have a companion guide. It's the self-assessment checklist that helps you evaluate your pitch and know where to focus your time and efforts for improvement. And for those that might hire me as their pitch coach, I will provide you with 5 specific improvements when you share your last pitch with me. Okay, let's just kind of recap here. What does it really matter that you do the step 1 analysis? Well, it helps you stay focused on getting the right material in your pitch deck and in your comments. It also helps you concentrate on key points and leaving out the boring stuff. And then it also helps you communicate with confidence so you can build credibility and get more leads, get more folks that want to hear more about your offering. Now, have you ever had an invitation or an opportunity to pitch your business idea? Yeah. I mean, I've seen hundreds of pitches, and I can tell you typically there are 3 things that happen. There are 3 kind of categories of what happens when you get that call. Hey, I want to hear your pitch. They either, number 1, delegate it. They're too busy to put it together, or customize it. They might hand it over to an assistant or an intern to ask them to brush up on their last pitch and update some things. So that's the first thing, you delegate it. Number 2, you might redress it. Just dress up what you did last time. You just do a quick refresher to the slides and the titles and the data that's in there. But you run the risk that it might be a different context. And then number 3, you just overdo it. Now, this is what I usually do. I just spend all night. I'm sitting there. I just can't stop. I'm putting this in and this picture and this thing and this, and I don't stop until the last minute. But bottom line, you come across as either unprepared overconfident, and you might even become what we call chum for the sharks. All right. And when you when you do that analysis with us, you'll no longer want to defer, delegate your next pitch opportunity. You'll actually have a guide and a self-assessment tool that can help you again and again, and you'll know how to do it so you don't waste time. But you may ask, hey, is it really worth doing this, analyzing it? Well, let's look what Joan asked. She asked that same exact question when she was thinking about hiring me. Let me share with you how Joan was able to create her own perfect pitch, even though she didn't have any time. She was too busy. Can I get a volunteer? I know, Cass, could you read this for me? I'm about to share this, and I want you just to listen. You don't have to, I'll tell you to cut off if you just want to kind of read some of the first sentences here. But Cass, could you unmute yourself and read some of this from Joan?
I enrolled in the Perfect Pitch coaching program because I had so many thoughts racing through my head. I was just spinning my wheels, working hard, but not productively. When you're launching something and income depends on it, you don't have the luxury of time to waste. Paul helped me sort through the various tasks and questions, and together we came up with a tangible roadmap for me to follow in between our sessions. Paul coached me through a process of analyzing my current pitch and discovered that it needed to focus on a much more robust financial section. I've never presented to an audience of funders, so understanding their needs helped bring clarity to that section of the pitch. He also helped me think about my target audience, and this helped me learn about new presentation tools that are way beyond just a simple PowerPoint. My initial results after I reworked my pitch was greater confidence that I had my presentation in the ready, no matter who I was talking to that day that asked for follow-up materials. Since then, I've applied what I've learned, and it has helped me pitch it to more qualified investors, and I'm still expecting to land a deal.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much, Cass. I appreciate that. So you can see from Joan, I think it was worth their time. I mean, if you look at what she wrote there, she got initial results she wanted within 30 days. She was able to pitch to one new investor, and feels like she's pitch ready, more confident to give her pitch at any given time. So are you ready to analyze your pitch? Well, let's go ahead and get your pitch out now. And let's just do a little workshop-y moment here. So this is kind of the live challenge. I want you to just pull up that document, and we're going to do this individually. I don't want to feel like anybody has to call anybody out or whatever. Again, if you want to put something in the chat, we're going to circle back around here in about 25 minutes, hopefully, and we'll cut off the recording, and then we'll talk openly, whatever you feel comfortable sharing in this format. So get your last pitch deck out, your last presentation, and here I would like to qualify it. Hopefully, this is a situation where you were trying to raise capital, you were trying to find new partners, you're trying to sell something, influence, persuade someone. And so it also should be a presentation that you were personally involved with or with your team, and you understood what the goals were, you understood kind of what the immediate results were, so you're well aware of that. So I'm going to walk you through a few questions, and I want you just to quietly, write down, take some notes as you kind of think about this. So the first question is,
she did, honey. She'll be back though.
Yeah, what was the goal of that presentation? What was the goal? Now, a lot of people will say, well, the goal was to raise money. The goal was to do, sometimes our goal, I think what I would say is, what was the immediate goal of that presentation? So think about that, write it down, and lock it in. See, and if you had more than one goal, write them down. Maybe circle the one you think was the number one goal. And I'd like for you to kind of take a few moments and look back at the last few slides or talking points. And I want you to think, was there a clear call to action? Were the audience very clear what was the next step or the first step they were supposed to take? Okay, now this is interesting because a lot of us, even those who are trained and know better, Sometimes we'll put so much information out in our communications or especially our presentations, and we don't give one specific call to action. We'll give 10. Go to this website, check us out on Facebook, do this and this and this. So there's too many call to actions. There's too many things, and it can be very confusing. So so what I'd ask you to do, if you just think about your goal, and I'd like you to think about, did you have one call to action? And I'd like for you to rate yourself, 5 being, hey, Paul, I nailed it. I was very clear about what I was going to achieve in that specific presentation at that specific moment with that specific group of people. And number 2, I had a one call to action that was very clear to ask them to do this. And that would be a 5. And a 1 would be, wow, we had about 10 different goals, or that was fuzzy goals. And I just kind of wanted to see what would stick. And, you know, I put my website at the bottom, and I didn't have, you know, there wasn't a real clear call to action. So if you want to score yourself there from 1 to 5. Now, the second question, or kind of grouping, what were the immediate questions or responses that you got from your audience, even if it was an audience of one person, or maybe you were making a big pitch to a room full of people, or a panel? What were those questions that came back? And if you have your slides in front of you, go back through the slides and put a question mark next to the ones that you got a lot of attention from your audience. Maybe they said, hey, let's go back to that slide. I want to look at that. Can you tell me more about that? Or maybe it was something where there was some kind of confusion about what was on that slide, or what that talking point didn't quite make a connection with your audience. So that would be another way for you to think about what was the immediate response. Another thing you might do is just, what was missing? When people asked later, maybe after the pitch, they came up to you and said, hey, I heard this, but I didn't hear that. So what was missing from the presentation? Was there a certain topic? Were you missing some important information that for some reason you just forgot? And then finally, how many question marks do you have? How many missing topics do you have? Do you have more than 5? I would say that if you've got more than 5, you really might not have made the right connection with your audience. There might have been too, it could have been confusing. It could have been too much. It could have been just not the right topics or not the right categories. And if you had everything good and you just can't come up with any issues there, then score yourself a 5. Okay, final area to analyze your last pitch and do a little analysis here. I'm going to ask this question this way. What were the end results or outcomes of the presentation? Let's say 30 to 60 days, 30 to 60 days where your presentation was still somewhat fresh in somebody's mind, where you might have had a, opportunity to have a lead where you followed up with. So the first question is, did you reach your intermediate or goal that you set? Did you reach that goal? And how can you quantify your results? So did you have a data-driven or quantifiable goal? Like, for example, if my goal was I was going to have a room full of 100 people, and my goal was to have 10 leads. I needed to have 10 people who responded to my call to action, which was leave your card with me, or fill out this card, and I'll call you back. And that was my goal. And let's say that you only got 1 card filled out. So now that you're only batting 10% there, right? You really, you had a great goal. You had a very specific goal, but you really didn't quite hit the mark. Or maybe it's the opposite. You had 20 leads or 20 leads out there at the end of your presentation, and you exceeded your goal. So I think that category is all about, what were your end results? Could you measure them? Were they very specific and measurable about what was the purpose and goal and the outcome of your pitch and your presentation? Okay, if you want to make notes of any questions or comments, we're going to circle back to those at the Q&A. And we're actually going to do one more little mini exercise here in just a second. But here's the kind of feedback that I get at this point. Oftentimes I hear people say, you know, I don't have any clarifying goals, or I got too many goals, or too lofty or unrealistic expectations. I don't have a call to action for my audience. You know, they don't know what to do next. I don't really feel confident that my pitch is ready. And if any of these resonate with you, then I want you to stay on with me. I want to talk to you about the perfect pitch coaching. Now let's go on to topic number 2. This is step number 2, which is identifying your target audience. You know, now that you're more clear about what not to do or what won't work in your last presentation, it's time to focus more on who are the right people to get in the room or to pitch to. Now, it can help you understand what are all the options. It's helpful for you to understand what are all the options for capital providers or financial products that are out there. Now, many people don't know that there are various options of capital providers, especially for those, if your business is a triple bottom line enterprise, you might be able to attract impact capital investors into your enterprise. Now, a common mistake here is that people oftentimes think that their project can only be supported in just one way. You know, I just need one angel investor. It's going to solve all my problems. There might not be just one way to get it done. And they've really never seen creative ways to raise support or use capital stacks to spread the risk among different different impact investors or different types of investors. So our second step here is to identify your target audience. What I did with Joan was to help her know what her options and opportunities were among those different types of investors and stakeholders. And the clients like Joan, they get access to some training videos where I explain non-traditional capital providers and different products that are out there. And that helps them make better decisions on how to better align their project and their values and the goals that they have for their project with the type of providers and products that are out there. So it is kind of a matching process, and it's a discovery process. And then I help them focus their pitch rather than wasting time on the people that really shouldn't be in the room. I help them focus on those that should. So let me ask you this. What could it mean for you if you had more options and opportunities? Okay. What would it mean? And then what if after exploring those options, you were provided 5 prospective capital providers for you to reach out to? Well, that's what we'll help you do. I'll show you how to identify a more qualified audience so that you can get more follow-up inquiries after your pitch, or what's called leads. And that tilts the odds in your favor by having the right people in the room or in the Zoom room. Plus, I'll ask you questions that they may ask. And, you know, some of the tough questions. Having been a lender and a program officer, I know which questions to ask, and I help you be able to answer those. Now, look, I know you probably are thinking, hey, I already know all the lenders and investors in my market or in my network. And that may be true, but which ones are most aligned with your project or cause? And do you know all of them in your market? Now, look, you might also be thinking, hey, I'm not a financial expert here. Now, that's why we have financial professionals like Raz at Root Financial. We have folks like that. We're not going to be everything to you, but we're going to help you focus on being intentional in relationship building and communications. So that second step, which is identifying your target market, what'll happen is you'll know the different type of capital providers and the different type of products and motivations of different investors in your market. And you'll be more adept at identifying the right audience to speak their language. I'll even give you your practice pitch and give you direct feedback as your coach. So let's continue on in step 2. We've got an activity here. I want you to be thinking about and answering these questions. Same kind of method, just do it at your own quietly with yourself there. So the question is, were the people that you pitched to with that last pitch, were those the right people? When I say right people, here's what I mean. Did they have aligned interest in your industry or opportunity that you have or the cause that you have. What was their interest? Did you understand what their interests were? Just because they have money doesn't mean they're interested in putting it just anywhere. So that's one way to think about having the right people that you pitch to. The other thing to think about is, hey, did they have the capacity to make a decision? I mean, what role do they have? What responsibilities do they have? And another way to consider it is, do they have money they need to get deployed? I know being, managing a revolving loan fund like I did, that was a really kind of the monkey on the back, so to speak. I wake up every morning thinking about how we're going to get that money out responsibly, lent out and out the door and going to work. And so you have to remember, people with capital, they have fiduciary responsibilities to get it out responsibly, but they have interest, and you have to find what that aligned interest is. So on a scale of 1 to 5, if you were to say 5, hey, look, I know I had the right people in there, I had the right person, I had the decision makers, I had well-aligned interest, and that's something that I feel real confident in. Great, you got a 5, score yourself a 5. On the other end, if you're a 1, you might be like, hey, I'm just not really sure what are their interests. How would I know that? How do I get to the right person? What are the type of products and mutual interest that we can share in this type of relationship? So that's the first thing to think about when you write down your answers. The second, and then we're only this is the last question here. I want you to think of one person that should hear your new pitch or an improved or perfected pitch. Who's that one person? And what makes them ideal for you to pitch to them? What would make them want to follow up and have a one-on-one meeting with you, or ask, invite you up to the executive suite and talk to more people in the organization? And what would be your call to action? What would you specifically say at the end of your pitch? Let's go on a scale of 1 to 5. How confident are you to pitch to that person right now? Okay, 5 being, hey, I'm ready to do it tomorrow. I'm just ready. I'm ready to book a time with them right now. 1 being, I'm not confident yet. So some of the feedback I get at this point typically is, hey, I'm not clear on the interest of these different type of capital providers. I'm not sure what they're looking for in an investment. I'm not really confident yet to pitch to that person, and I really want to be. So if any of these things are resonating with you, again, I'd love to help you with this, and I want to talk more about that here at the end. So let's finish out with number 3. Practice. Have you ever heard that saying? Practice makes perfect, right? So our final step is for you to practice delivering your pitch until it's near perfection. See, just like a high performance athlete or musician, having a coach helps you improve that new skill or master a new skill. Can you recall a special skill that you've had to practice? Maybe over time you became really good at it. That's what it takes with communication and public speaking. But also when you learned and practiced that new skill, there were hard times. You probably became uncomfortable and stretched your limits, just like an athlete or musician. But if you persevered and kept moving forward, you're typically able to master that and do better and perform. So just like that, when you find growth and development in other areas, this is the same thing that we want to do in the perfect pitch coaching. And here's how it's done. Our main goal is to accelerate your learning process. And we do this by using videos and worksheets and templates and all different communication tools in our digital age to take you each step of the way. And I've packaged a lot of that online in a way that makes it easy, convenient, and in a bite-sized format. Then we'll make the most of our time in live phone or Zoom sessions that are focused on your action items, making our coaching sessions more productive when we're together, either by phone or by Zoom. And we'll even use my free video recording system where you can practice your improved pitch during the time that's convenient for you. And then I'll watch it and give you specific feedback in writing or in our next live coaching session. Another thing you'll practice is reformatting that pitch deck, right? And you can use whatever format you want, PowerPoint, Google. There's some beautiful AI out there, and you can use whatever you want. But we do have templates if you are interested in those. And finally, I'm going to play the role of that investor, whether it be a loan or some equity or even grant, if you're able to be eligible for that. And I'm going to ask you hard questions that'll help you be prepared and not get caught off guard when you're doing the real thing. So why does this practice all really matter? Well, because when it's done right, you'll be more confident and prepared like Joan was. You'll be able to focus on building relationships and cultivating them into new partnerships or investors. And you'll always be pitch ready when given that opportunity, and stop worrying about how you're going to raise funds. So the only thing is there are obstacles and there's some real tricky parts. And some of those tricky parts you've already learned today. You've already heard me talk about that. And I'm about to close out here. One of the tricky things is knowing what to omit or what to include in your pitch, knowing who to target and who to pitch to, and being ready to answer questions and give a clear call to action. And these are made more likely to happen when you have an action plan and a coach to help you get the results you want. So let me show you how. I want to do this with you. I want to finish out this last talk, this last section here that we're coming into the home stretch. And let me ask you a vision question or a coaching question first. What would it look like if you could make a perfect pitch? Let me introduce you to the perfect pitch coaching package. All right, so that you can be pitch ready. Let's just dive briefly into each one of these deliverables. Okay, you've already heard me mention some of this, how I use this with Joan. So first of all, you'll get 5 specific improvements and 5 prospective providers, capital providers, who you can call upon and schedule a pitch with in those first 30 days. You'll make improvements to your pitch deck and send us your practice recordings. We'll give you written feedback for improvements and coach you in live sessions as well. And if you're on track by this time, I'm hoping that by day 15 in the sprint, 30-day sprint, that you'll be ready to start scheduling those pitches and feeling more confident already. When you do this, you'll stop wondering how to move forward and start focusing on growth and the tasks that are going to create the impact that you want to have. Remember, we also, and many of you have already got this, we're going to use the 10 steps of the perfect pitch guide, which I've already given you, but also the checklist and some tools that are going to help you, put that together. And again, we want you to focus on getting the right people in your audience to pitch. So we give you those 5 different types of potential capital providers that you might want to check out in your market, so that when you do begin to approach them, you can approach them with credibility. You can pitch to them and help them take action and get to know who you are and build that relationship. Now, finally, this checklist provides some objective scoring. I think one of the things that happens is sometimes people say, Paul, am I going to have to keep hiring you over and over? And the goal is no. I want you to learn skills in your team so that you can do this yourself. So that's one of the things that when we hand these checklists and these resources over to you, you should be building that muscle and building up that new skill and practice so that you can perfect it again on your own. And then it'll help you know exactly what to change the next time and build that skill, as I just mentioned. Now, another coaching question real quick. What would it look like? Imagine building your perfect pitch, building it. What does it look like if you and your team were to build that and finally be ready to pitch? So as a professional coach, I'm certified to help you do that. I just use this coaching framework to do that with you. So the final thing is I'm going to get into let me move forward. I want you to know that, because I want to finish out here before we have people drop off. Here is what it cost. All right. And I want to remind you of the value. There's the 10 steps. There's the 5 improvements, 5 prospects, the pitch, self-assessment, personalized coaching. And we'll book your first coaching session in 48 hours. We'll begin that 30-day process and we'll help you reach your goals, all for $11.85. And, I'm sure that you'll find this totally worth it and valuable. And I know so because I'm going to back it with 2 guarantees. Yes, I said that, 2 guarantees. The first one, I call it the lead guarantee, that if you follow your action plan, you pitch 5 investors in 30 days, and you still don't get at least 1 lead for a second meeting, I'll continue with biweekly coaching for free until you win that first lead. Okay, so I believe in you and the process that we'll be going through. Now, if you want to hire me the second level of this, if you say, hey, I like where we're going, I think it's going to take a little more time, I want you to continue to coach me, I've got a 90-day guarantee that if I see bottom line is I'm confident that you're going to follow your action plan. If you're going through all the steps and tips and strategies, you're working hard on your part, and you're having me help you make adjustments over those next 60 days, then if you don't find at least one capital provider to offer you terms and some type of capital that can at least get you started, I'm going to refund your money on the coaching fee. So that's it. Here we are. This is the final deliverables. You'll see in here that there is we're going to put this. Oh, by the way, I wouldn't be doing a great pitch if I didn't offer some bonuses. There's the sample templates and pitches. You get sample pitches. We'll help you understand what are some best practices, and you'll get to see those in videos. And then I'll also include in the bundle an immediate access to Raising Capital 101, which is $199 valued mini course. So there it is. You have a chance to raise capital this next year, doing it in a different way and getting better results. So now that you've taken the first steps today to become aware of this 3-step process that I've laid out for a perfect pitch, why not take the next step and hire me as your coach to help you get results in the next 30 days? So click the link below. If you, Cass, can you put that in there for us to make sure? I know I've got it on the screen there. But yeah, if you want to put that in there, and we will be glad to help you out. So that is where are we at? We're like 40 minutes. I think I did it in 40 minutes. So I want to appreciate everybody for hanging in there, and I'm going to stop the recording now so we can talk freely among ourselves and it won't be recorded. And let's see if you have any questions or any comments.